Good evening. Yes, it's Halloween, and you're getting a bonus Waterproof Records podcast on Halloween. You're thinking to yourself, didn't we just get the Best Friends Forever episode like earlier this week? Yes, you did. But I decided, one, because I was late on that episode, and I normally release episodes on Friday, I was like, it's Halloween. I got to do a special episode. I got to make one for today, specifically revolving around Halloween, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I am sitting in a new setup, and I'll get into that a little bit. I know most of you listen to the show and don't watch it, but for those of you who are watching, you can see that I'm still changing things around like I said I would. But we'll get into that in a second. It is time to talk about 10 songs you need on your Halloween playlist. Let's go.
Things are gonna change, I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna...
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Gibbons.
This is so surreal. I am sitting on my couch as I record the podcast. For those of you only listening, I'm still in my home studio, but I'm messing around with the format a little bit. I had the table and the office chairs, but I moved it around. When I was filming at Lazy Pickle Studios, I loved the couches and how informal it was and how comfortable it was. And these couches right here are the very same couches that started this whole social media thing for me. I would sit in front of these in my living room. So it's kind of great that they're following me out here. And I feel like I've kind of recreated the Wayne's World basement or something. So we're getting closer to something that I'm going to have as my permanent set, but let's talk about DistroKid. Of course, you need to use my link, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof to get your 30% off your first year. I've been working with DistroKid for 2 years now, and I always mention them at the start and the end of my show to make sure you get 30% off of any uploads that you do to their services. You use that link, and then you'll get 30% off your first year. Hey, that's better than 10, that's better than 20, it's 30%. So go use distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. I won't belabor too much about my location or what the look of the studio is, but again, another thing I loved about Lazy Pickle is they had the vinyl on display. So behind me, I have two different records that we're going to get into, and I have them on display, not so nicely as the other studio where they had them on the walls with all those holders and lights and everything, but this will do for now. I'll make it work. So I thought about this list because I have this Jacob's Halloween party playlist, and I've cultivated over a couple years now, and I add new things to it when things pop in my head, or occasionally I'll go in and I'll be like, I don't really want this song on there. But what made me make that playlist is I know you know this feeling. You go onto a streaming service and you search Halloween playlist, and for those of us who have the same music taste, it's kind of shitty. You go out there and it's like, sure, you get the classics, the Monster Mash. And then, of course, I'm a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm wearing my Jack Skellington shirt right now. I love that movie. It means a ton to me and my family. We watch it every year when we're decorating for Halloween. So those are great. And then there's there's just ones that are always on there. And then they always deviate into this like pop music and things that I'm like, I don't want these on my Halloween playlist. So I started putting together things that, one, are either just creepy in feel. It's not necessarily like Halloween lyrics or meant for Halloween, but very creepy in feel. Or tonally, there was something about it, like maybe what the subject matter was. And then every now and then, only one, I think, on this list I chose because it has the word Halloween in it, and I just think it's a fun one to throw in there. But that's what I try to do. I will link the playlist in this episode so you can go look at all of them. But I've selected 10 songs that I bet you don't have in your Halloween playlist. Because I went digging, I looked at indie Halloween playlists or rock Halloween playlists or whatever, and I would scroll through, and I was like, a lot of my choices don't end up in playlists. So I tried to choose 10. Now, there are awesome, amazing songs that are in a lot of those playlists. Like, for example, like Concrete Blonde, Bloodletting, the Vampire Song, or Ministry, Every Day is Like Halloween, or anything Typo Negative, especially All Hallows Eve or Black Number One. Season of the Witch, Donovan, Halloween by the Misfits, of course. You're Dead by Norma Tanega. I had to look that one up because I love that song from What We Do in the Shadows. I love putting that in the playlist now. And even a new one from Muse recently, You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween. That's a super fun song. But when I went digging into other playlists, I saw a lot of those represented. Misfits, almost every single playlist, because I mean, it's Halloween in the song title, so it's going to get it. I also saw Typo Negative a lot of times in Halloween playlists. So I chose these songs and I was like, I don't see these turn up very often. So number 1, Poe, Haunted. Okay. Poe, the artist who is Anne Danielewski. I had said in a video years ago, I said Danielewski because that's how I read it, but somebody corrected me and they said, oh, it's actually pronounced Danielewski. So Anne Danielewski is Poe, and she kind of broke onto the scene in the mid 90s. Hello, Trigger Happy Jack, some of those songs. And then in the year 2000, she released this album, Haunted. And Haunted was a companion piece for her brother's book called House of Leaves. So they were both kind of, he wrote this fiction novel, and she wrote this album, and she used voice recordings of her father who had passed away. So this was kind of part of her grieving process of letting go of her father. And throughout the album, there's these recordings in there, like a conversation between her and her father who's passed on. So the song Haunted, I just thought was a really cool place to start. It's a cool song. I love what Poe does. I love her sound. And I didn't see this one turn up very often. I've never read House of Leaves personally. My wife Jamie has read it, and I think she enjoyed it. And they also did this as a book tour and music tour back when it came out. I'm pretty sure that her brother, and his name is Mark Z. Danielewski, and their father's name was Ted Danielewski, and he was a film director. But they traveled together, and he would do readings of the book, and she would play music from the album. So that's my first on the list, Poe, Haunted. This next one, I just love this song. I'm actually planning on covering it. I think if I can ever get off my ass and do it. And this is definitely a song that isn't creepy in feel, but it has Halloween in the song title. And I just love this band. They come from my home state. I talk about them a lot. The Flaming Lips. They have a song called Halloween on the Barbary Coast. It's got this great opening guitar sound, but I've talked about this album Hit to Death in the Future Head before, and it's, you know, it's a little trebly. It's not as well recorded, so you have to get over. It doesn't sound bad. It's just by standards of how professional the Flaming Lips would get in terms of their audio recording. This is definitely more on the raw sound. But I still love Halloween on the Barbary Coast. This came off of their, which was their 5th studio album released in 1992. And I really love this record so much. But Halloween on the Barbary Coast, cool, has this kind of tribal drums and just that opening signature guitar. And it just drives and goes. And I love putting this one on Halloween playlist. See, this isn't going to take very long. I think I actually can move along this pretty quickly. And for those of you watching, I'm obviously not going to be able to play the song clips on YouTube, but I do try to put little 20, 30-second excerpts in the audio version. And on the YouTube, I try to make it more fun by putting little graphics and images on the screen. But you're going to have to forgive me for this spontaneous episode because today is actually October 30th, and it's about 10 p.m., and I plan on uploading this tonight and having it ready for you tomorrow morning. So I'm definitely doing this as a last ditch effort here. So I don't have as much time to put as much production in it. So forgive me. Love you. Thank you for just, enjoying the songs and not worrying about the high production value. But let's move on to number 3. Now, this one, because it's from the 1980s, I did see it come up sporadically on some other people's Halloween playlists because it's a great one to put on there. It's kind of I would say it's like a troubadour Western spooky vibe to it. It reminds me of like a ghost town. The song is The Killing Moon by Echo and the Bunnymen. This is from the early 1980s, I think 1984 to be exact, off of their album Ocean Rain, which was their 4th studio album. But I just love the vibe and energy of this song. I think it's a fun one to put on a playlist. has that ghost town quality to it. And the cool story behind it is lead singer Ian McCulloch, he heard those words in a dream, fate up against your will. He heard them in a dream, woke up, remembered the words, and put them in a song. And he said he's always loved this song so much because he didn't overthink it. And he truly felt that, like, you remember words from a dream the next morning, that's from God. That's like divine intervention. And I think it really does stand the test of time. So maybe he's onto something there, that there was something beyond the veil about the killing moon. Number 4. The fourth song on this list is kind of a double, if not triple whammy. And I have on display behind me right now the vinyl of this album, and it is the Crow soundtrack, 9 Inch Nails, Dead Souls. This is why this is a triple. You're getting like the trifecta of spooky soundtrack stuff here. 1, it's on the Crow soundtrack, which is a great creepy, spooky movie, Halloween movie. Well, not really a Halloween movie. It's like an action movie, but it's gothic, The Crow. And then also 9 Inch Nails, hello, perfect mood for this time of year. And then lastly, it is a cover of Joy Division, Dead Souls. That's their songs. You're getting Joy Division, 9 Inch Nails, the Crow soundtrack, all in one song. So that's why I had to choose it, because there was a couple other songs off of the Crow soundtrack. There was definitely other 9 Inch Nails songs that I was going to choose for this playlist, but I think in particular, this song, this cover is absolutely amazing. I love this cover, and I think it should definitely be on your Halloween playlist. Song number 5 is the song Small Town Witch by Sneaker Pimps. Now, I was a fan of the Sneaker Pimps in the 90s. I had their album Becoming X, and they had this beautiful female vocalist, a part of the group named Kelly Dayton, and she departed from the band in the late 90s. So I didn't pay as much attention to what the Sneaker Pimps were up to after that. But this is off of their 2002 album Bloodsport, and the song Small Town Witch. Anything that I pull for Halloween, there's a lot of trip hop. There's a lot of that vibe that comes across on my Halloween playlist, because I just think there's something about beats and spookiness. And I really loved the refrain in this song, Small Town Witch, and thought this is probably not on your Halloween playlist. So definitely check out Sneaker Pimps' Small Town Witch. Now, this one will be more difficult for you to put on your playlist, but I had to mention it. I love this band. They're not for everyone. I'm suggesting this. This is probably the song that you play at the end of the night because you want to just sit and stew in the creepy, eerie vibes and just get lost in it. I don't think this is going to kick your Halloween party up to the next level, but I don't care about that right now, because this is Godspeed You Black Emperor with their song Moya. Now, here's the thing. Godspeed does not put their music on streaming services. So you'll have to go to YouTube or buy the album to play this song. It is off of their only EP and second release, which was called Slow Riot for New Zero Canada. So this song, Moya, is a reworking of Symphony No. 3 by Heinrich Gorecki. I used to always say Gorecki, another name I mispronounced for a long time. Symphony No. 3 by Heinrich Gorecki is one of my favorite classical pieces of all time. It is, I've made videos about it. I talk about how you just put on a pair of headphones and you just lay down and let that thing take you on a journey. So when I found out that Moya, which is named after Godspeed band member Mike Moya, that it was kind of a reworking of that piece of music, I was like, well, of course this connects with me so much. It's so eerie. The way that it builds in the beginning, and then finally, once it kicks in, it gets to this kind of carnival-esque vibe once the drums come in, because it's a glockenspiel, I think, and I am a sucker for a glockenspiel. Whenever I would record music, early in my life, I would always go in and add digital glockenspiel to just about everything I wrote, because I just love the twinkly sound that it makes in music. And I've never owned one, but I would use the digital one. But this song uses it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I love it. It's an incredibly long piece of music. I want to say it's almost 10 minutes long and probably going to kill your party vibe. But this isn't about the guests at your party. This is about super creepy, eerie Godspeed vibes that you can get lost in. So Moya by Godspeed You Black Emperor. Oh, absolutely amazing. The cover of the album of Slow Riot for New Zero Canada is Hebrew letters. So if you're looking for it, that's what it is. And the Hebrew letters say formless and empty, which I believe was from the description of Earth before God separated light from dark, which I think that's a pretty cool description of that album. All right. Onward and upward. We're trucking along. This might not be a very long episode, but hopefully you'll have some fun stuff to listen to. Number 7, Overcome by Tricky. And it's featuring Martina Topley-Bird, who sings a lot on Max and K, this album, Max and Quay. I actually don't know if I've ever said that album title correctly. Tricky was part of Massive Attack early on, another trip-hop artist out of the Bristol scene. Amazing, influential. I've talked about him before. I've made videos about him before. Christian Sands, amazing song. You've seen him in the movies like The Fifth Element. He's in that. He's been in a few other projects. Just a cool musician, cool artist and creator. And so influential in the trip-hop movement that came out of that time in the 90s. And this album I loved. And you might be thinking to yourself, if you know this record and you know what's on it, there's another song on the album called Pumpkin. And you're going, Jacob, why didn't you choose Pumpkin? Not only it says Pumpkin in the title, but there's a sample of Smashing Pumpkins' Suffer from Gish on it. You can hear it in the song. There's a sample. So you'd be like, Jacob, there's Pumpkin sample. It's called Pumpkin. Like, why not? I just don't think that one has the right Halloween playlist vibe that I was going for. I love that song, but Overcome does. Overcome is a reworking of Karma Coma from Massive Attack. It's basically just kind of another take. Now, in this song, it's talking about a couple who are estranged and war in Kuwait is going on. It's not really a Halloween song, but for me, I love this, and I love this piece of music to play because it's just that tonally. And I think there's a lyric about treats and walking in neighborhoods, and I was like, I could take that as like, we're walking on the streets trick-or-treating. But just screw it. There's no rules to this. This is just a song that I think you should put on your Halloween playlist, and it'll feel real nice. Black light, fog machine. Let's get into it. Why not, right? Now this next one, another trip hop. I told you, trip hop makes a good splash on my Halloween playlist because of the energy. Probably, it's neck and neck for Portishead and Massive Attack for me, but this goes out to Portishead off of their second album, Portishead, the black and white cover. And the song is called Humming. And when I tell you this, the creepy orchestra plucks, the theremin, the howling theremin, to me, this is the most Halloween-y feeling song. The creepiness behind it. And I didn't see anyone out there who had Humming by Portishead on their Halloween playlist. So trust me on this one. This is a great one. You can absolutely have it play at your party. You can play it alone. It's perfect when you've got all the lighting and the mood around you. It is, Beth Gibbons' voice. I have nothing but great things to say about that piece of music. I wanted to know if there was any facts about it. The album came out in 1997, but just trust me, Portishead, Humming. You're going to like it. All right. Look how quick this is. I can't believe it. I'm usually talking for so much longer, but I know I also have to put this together and put it out so you can have it on Halloween. And I hope you're having an amazing Halloween, by the way, so far. Maybe I'm keeping you company. Maybe you're going to take some of these songs with you and make this playlist for your party. You'll obviously need way more than this, so you can also borrow Jacob's Halloween party playlist. This next song, no surprise. Of course, I have to put the Smashing Pumpkins on here. And you're probably thinking he's going to go with I off of Lost Highway soundtrack. Nope, because I saw Smashing Pumpkins I on multiple playlists out there for Halloween, and I was like, I'm going to take him to a much deeper cut. Now, I believe you can get this on most streamings, but this was for a film soundtrack, and it was a B-side on the film they released it on the film soundtrack, and then this song was a B-side on the single of the film soundtrack song. Okay, So in 1997, there was the infamous Batman and Robin movie, and the Smashing Pumpkins provided the song "The End is the Beginning is the End," which is a big, fast rocker. It was in the movie. The movie is dog shit. It's a bad movie, but this song is a great song, and they did a great job on that song. But when you would buy the CD single of "The End is the Beginning is the End," they had a couple of variations of that song, and on that was "The Beginning is the End is the Beginning," which is the same song, but slowed way down. Super creepy, super sinister, and it has this like, ooh, this is the vibe I'm going for. It's worth noting that this version of the song was used in the 2009 trailer for the film Watchmen. So it had a kind of resurgence in popularity. You probably can find it referenced online because of that film trailer, but its original origin was in 1997 for the Batman and Robin soundtrack. And honestly, it's so fantastic. So I had to include it on my Halloween playlist for you. All right, we are nearing the end. And I made this one number one. And I have it on display right here. I made this one number one because to me, almost this entire album is the spookiest Cure album in existence. It is so spooky. It's called Pornography. So don't let that confuse you. I think that their classic Robert Smith mentality was like pornography as a statement, as in like the obscene things of the world. It could have been in the politics and the way that we're treated, that it's all, he obviously is looking at things in a much more layered way. So the album title itself might put people out like, what is this? But the album's called Pornography. But this album has a song on it called Cold. I mean, this is like the Phantom of the Opera of the Cure. There is a giant organ in this. That's what she said. They had so much darkness, and there's this like really deep bass, and I think a cello, and it is Cold is Halloween. It is spooky. And I'm sure the subject material is just about being cold when you're dead or something like that, but it is perfect. I'm telling you right now, this album that's behind me, The Cure's Pornography, that song Cold, the whole album start to finish, creepy as hell, but so good. And I have such a funny story to tell about this album, and I'll tell this before I wrap things up, because that's essentially it. This might be like a 25-minute episode when I'm done. The funny story about this album. So I've talked before about how my parents were kind of strict about the kind of music that my brother and I were into, because we started out of the hair metal, and there was some, controversial stuff in that, kind of dirty, raunchy things. And then we got into the heavy metal, which scared my parents. And so because of the Megadeths and the suicidal tendencies and the Panteras and the Slayers and the things like that really scared them, we had become in the practice of, if we bought an album, we had to show them the lyrics and the booklet, and they had to kind of check it out at this age, this time in our life. And this wasn't too long after that metal phase, and it was really before they started chilling out, and I started getting into the Pumpkins and everything. It was like right in that little window. So it had to have been like 1991, before the grunge explosion. My brother had this on tape. And we were on a family vacation, and my parents found that Joel was listening to The Cure's Pornography. And of course, like I said, the title of the album made them go, oh no. And so we all sat around as a family on this trip. I remember it like it was yesterday, sitting around on couches, and they're opening up the booklet, and they start going through the lyrics. And what ends up happening is they end up laughing because there's nothing obscene about the lyrics in this album. They get to lyrics that Robert Smith is saying, something small falls out of your mouth and I laugh. And it's just coming across like just bohemian, depressing poetry. And it all seems so absurd and silly to them and not harmful in the slightest. And it just seems like a guy who's like writing about how sad and depressed he is. And for some reason, it caused them to kind of chuckle a little bit. We all had a good laugh and they chilled out. That was probably one of the beginnings of the turning points. But I loved that memory of sitting with my brother and my parents and going through the lyrics from this album and then just very quickly being like, this is fine. And this is okay. You guys can enjoy this. So I'll always remember that when I think about The Cure's Pornography. But this, it's their fourth studio album. It was released in 1982. So most of the songs I chose tonight were from the 90s, but two were in the 1980s. And then, of course, the cover of Dead Souls that spans two different time frames. But that's essentially, and Godspeed and Sneaker Pimps, that was from the 2000s. So I guess I kind of went all over the place in terms of where we were in years. But yeah, happy Halloween. I hope this was fun for you. I know it was kind of spontaneous. I'm sorry about dropping the Best Friends Forever episode on a Monday, but I had really fallen behind with all the festivals and travel, and I'd been out of town. And so still getting this stuff put together. So I'm grateful that you guys can just be patient with me as these things happen from time to time. And I just wanted to give you a bonus Halloween episode. So be safe out there. If you're going out late, if you're partying or whatever, just be careful. It's amateur hour sometimes on these big party nights, and people get into trouble and get into danger. So just be careful, look after each other and take care of yourself. And, again, thanks for always staying with me on Waterproof Records. I'm working on getting some guests in the space here, but I've been held back just from building and putting things together, as you can see, with me sitting on this couch and changing things yet again. Thank you so much. distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Use that link, get 30% off your first year. And of course, my biggest thanks to Pantheon Podcasts, who helps make this podcast grow, puts me on a network with other amazing podcasts about music. And the other day, it was very cool. I checked their roster of their top podcasts, and I was doing pretty well amongst a lot of these other heavy hitter shows. I was like ranked at, I think it was like 15th, and that's not too shabby, I gotta say, because they've got a lot of people. But hey, let's work together and let's bring that up. Let's get the listeners up even higher, and let's grow Waterproof Records, and let's take this to the next level. But happy Halloween. Thank you so much. I can't do the show without you. Be safe out there. Have a spooky safe time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Things are gonna change.